The nation's longest-running traveling celebration of traditional arts, the National Folk Festival comes to downtown Jackson for the first time, November 7th through the 9th. A fun-filled weekend for the entire family, exploring roots, richness, and variety of American culture. Non-stop music and dance, folk life demonstrations, hands-on children's activities, signature Southern foods, crafts, and more showcasing the best of America, the best of Mississippi, all free. We'll see you in November. More at nationalfolkfestival.com.
Everlasting, the Legacy Podcast, is the official companion podcast to the upcoming MPB original documentary, focusing on the life of Medgar Evers. The companion podcast, hosted by me, Rita Brent, will feature in-depth conversations, extended interviews, and exclusive archive footage not shown in the documentary. Everlasting, the Legacy Podcast, video and audio episodes premiere September 18th. Find it on mpbonline.org or wherever you get your podcasts. MPB, your stories, our mission.
What's happening, Mississippi? You found the Sit Down with Russ Latino right here on MPB Think Radio. Today, our guest, Chef Derek Emerson. You know, we talk a lot on this program about the things that shape Mississippi's future, the ideas, the people, oftentimes that puts us in the camp of talking about politics and policy. But so much of Mississippi's future and so much of Mississippi's past is shaped and driven by culture. And at the center of that culture for a lot of Mississippians is food. It's more than sustenance. It's how we connect with people. It's how we connect communities and families. It's how we show Southern hospitality. And for over 2 decades now, Chef Derek Emerson has been at the forefront of the Jackson food scene. Chef Emerson, great to see you today.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's been a good run.
It has been a great run. We were talking about this off air. I mean, obviously a lot of people associate you with Walker's Drive-In.
You know, it was our first restaurant that my wife and I had, and 24 years, we actually, we closed our deal on 9/11, so we never celebrated 9/11/2001, so we never actually celebrated anniversaries. We just kept rolling for 24 years later, never missed a payroll.
So your opening night was 9/11/2001, or that was when the deal closed?
That's when the deal closed. So we actually took it over that July. We're still working the deal and kind of figure out if we were going to work it out or not. And then we finally got it all worked out. And I didn't even realize we had a fire in 2005, February 19th. And we went back to get the paperwork together and see kind of where we were on our note and things like that. And I didn't even realize until that day, 5 years later, that it was 9/11.
It's crazy. I was telling you off air, just between us, that your restaurant meant a lot to me and my wife. So when we first got started in life, we graduated from law school, moved to Belhaven. We were dinks, right? Double income, no kids.
Yeah.
And Walker's was like our go-to weekly place. And it was such a special experience and so many great memories, not just of the food, but, I was talking about the connection that you have with the place.
It's amazing. It's I don't know that I could ever open a restaurant that would ever recreate the magic that Walker's brought to us. It's I hate this. It was great. We connected with families. We saw generations. We'd see parents that ended up being grandparents that ended up with their kids ended up being parents. So it's just like sometimes you have 3 generations of people sitting at the same table that some of those generations didn't exist when we started.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of it's 24 years is a long time.
And one of the cool things about that place, and I know kitchen staff comes and goes, and I know servers come and go, but you guys had incredible longevity with people on your staff within the industry standard, right? You had real longevity there.
I had a lady, LD, Hollis, has been with me since 1999 at Schimmel's. Another guy, Dale Myers, has been with me since 99 at Schimmel's, who's now at Local 463. LD is still with us. Effie, who's our general manager and a partner at CAET and the New Ventures, has been with us since 2002, 2003. So, 22 years. And so Mike, the chef there, was 11 years. His wife he met his wife there, and she was there about 12 years. So it's kind of, I had to take care of the people that took care of me, because without them, it would have never happened.
Yeah, and I sensed a second ago you getting emotional about it. Obviously, very recently there's been an announcement that you guys have sold, and are out at that location. Obviously, you still have the other restaurants, CAET and Local 463 and Sacred Ground, and we're going to talk about all those in a bit. But give me a sense of like what it means to you, having been there as long as you've been, to now step away.
It's probably the hardest thing we've ever done. We were there, like I said, 24 years. We became part of people's families. They became part of ours. You know, you really get to know people, and you know, it's just the joy that you see when people eat a good bite, a good meal, and the look on their face. It's like instant gratification, and you know right away if that was good or not by how they react. So, you know, you can fix things in a minute. You know, we've always, you know, we've really tried to focus on giving service. I feel like a lot of that's lost nowadays. People, I mean, the new generation doesn't understand like what service actually is, and that bothers me a little, just because it's hard for me to hire people just because, you know, a lot of people are okay with okay, and we were never okay with that. We never worried about anybody else, but we always strived to do the best that we could, and you know, with that we built a community of people in Jackson and around the state and around the country that would come in and eat when they came in town, and you know, they became part of our lives and we became part of theirs.
I will say this, and this is just Russ's observation, is that the refined dining that you brought to Walker's opened the door for a more vibrant restaurant scene in Jackson, Mississippi. And you may or may not agree with that, but in my mind it did, because it showed that there was an appetite for that kind of dining, where that you've got people like Hunter coming in at LV's. And
I definitely think that where Nick's was the standard, and Nick's did a great job, and Nick's a great friend of mine. When we first started, we were bringing in a lot of fish that no one else had heard of, or no one else had ever brought. We were bringing in, I mean, nothing spectacular necessarily, but like black sea bass, you know, fluke out of the East Coast. And we were importing a lot, I mean, not importing necessarily, but flying in a lot of different fish from other parts of the country. So I think we set a level that way. And I think that we always tried to set the highest level possible. And it wasn't a competition thing. It was, I just always wanted to do the best I possibly could. And I do that with the barbecue now. I mean, you know, I always think it can be better. No matter how good it is, and no matter how good Walker's was, it could have always been better in my mind, because we always strive to be the best we can. So it's just, and setting those standards, and the people that we hired believed in those standards. And like I said, I don't know that I could ever recreate that magic of that restaurant ever again.
Well, you and Jennifer did an amazing job at that restaurant. Your staff did an amazing job at that restaurant. I had like a standard rotation between, like, when I first started, it was the redfish Anna, because everybody said, get the redfish Anna. And then, like, for years, I was like an everything crusted tuna guy, which is still an amazing dish, and an excellent dish. Yeah. And then that veal and lobster Kathy got added to the menu. I don't know whose idea that was, but
so that was Bill Lampton was my neighbor, and so that was actually named after his wife, Kathy. She had cancer and died several years ago, probably 15 years ago. But I've been friends with their family and their friends, and you know, they always do business together. But that was the last thing she could eat before she passed away, so we just named it after her.
Wow.
Yeah. So when you say touching people's lives and people touched ours, it's kind of stuff like that. And that's when we left Walker's, when I sold it, I said, you know, you guys, you can leave the veal lobster on, but you have to take the Kathy off, because that's something special to me.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I for whatever it's worth, to me, that set the mark for dining in the Jackson Metro, because it was this strange mixture of like 50s ambiance with incredible staff, amazing food, and there was something about the pace of the place.
Yeah, the tables were way too close together.
No, it felt intimate.
It felt okay, though.
It felt intimate, and there was something about the pace of a good meal there that I haven't seen duplicated in other places.
It's just, like I try to tell everybody, just follow the system. And we had a system set up that worked for us for that restaurant, and we've tried to work at other places, and it just, when you get a bigger group, it's too hard to compute, and it makes it real hard for some people.
Well, for what it's worth, well done all those years. When we come back from break, I want to talk about some of the new ventures, some of what you've been able to do in Madison County over the last decade plus now. Obviously, you've added a lot to the portfolio that you and Jennifer are working on.
Well, without her, it would never happen. So she is definitely leading the charge some days.
You're listening to The Sit Down. We're talking with Chef Derek Emerson. We'll be right back in just a moment.
The nation's longest running traveling celebration of traditional arts, the National Folk Festival, comes to downtown Jackson for the first time, November 7th through the 9th. A fun-filled weekend for the entire family, exploring roots, richness, and variety of American culture. Non-stop music and dance, folk life demonstrations, hands-on children's activities, signature Southern foods, crafts, and more showcasing the best of America, the best of Mississippi, all free. We'll see you in November. More at nationalfolkfestival.com.
At the Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Experience in Meridian, we believe in the power of the arts, storytelling, and education, just like Mississippi Public Broadcasting. MPB connects communities across the state with quality programs that inform, inspire, and engage. Their audience is loyal and appreciative of businesses that support public broadcasting, which makes underwriting on MPB a smart investment. Join us in supporting MPB. Learn more at mpbfoundation.org.
Everlasting, the Legacy Podcast, is the official companion podcast to the upcoming MPB original documentary, focusing on the life of Medgar Evers. The companion podcast, hosted by me, Rita Brent, will feature in-depth conversations, extended interviews, and exclusive archive footage not shown in the documentary. Everlasting, the Legacy Podcast, video and audio episodes premiere September 18th. Find it on mpbonline.org or wherever you get your podcasts. MPB, your stories, our mission.
You're listening to The Sit Down on MPB Think Radio. I'm your host, Russ Latino. We're talking today with chef and restaurateur Derek Emerson. We're talking a little bit about Walker's, which was the start in 2001, right?
2001. We basically 24 years to the day when we actually took it. When I took it over, started cleaning it to move in. and
so I know that you're from Beverly Hills. Originally, you grew up in Beverly Hills, right?
Well, kind of, yeah. I went to Beverly Hills High and did that, but I lived in other,
So how did you end up in Mississippi?
So my grandfather was the CPA in Meridian.
Okay.
And my dad was originally from Meridian. I came here one summer when I was 16 and never left.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, I could do what I wanted, made my own decision.
So did you finish out high school here?
I finished out high school in Meridian High.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then did you always know, hey, I want to cook, I want to be a part of the restaurant scene?
Not necessarily. My family was always into food. Like, we kind of based vacations sometimes on the restaurant of the time. So like in the 80s, we went to Latesse, late 80s, early 90s, going to the grill room at Windsor Court, and then, Mike's on the Avenue, and then Brennan's and, Galatois. So all these restaurants that were in New Orleans. My grandfather was a CPA, so he never spent money at home. But when he went on vacation, we went to nice restaurants.
Yeah.
And so my dad always made a deal. I'll buy the wine, you buy the food, because my grandfather didn't. He was happy. He wouldn't know the difference with a good wine or a bad wine.
I was about to say, depending on the wine order, that could actually work in your grandfather's favor.
And most times it probably did. So when you go to restaurants like that and you spend time, and then a buddy of mine from California who has restaurants out in LA right now drove through here going to the CIA when I was about 20. And he's like, I'm going to culinary school. And I'm like, damn. I've always liked food. So I decided to go to a little culinary school up in Memphis and, tried it. And just I did the old-fashioned way, just worked as many places as I could for as long as possible.
Because you worked at Bravo, is that right?
I opened Bravo. I worked at the Brick Oven. And then I went to Atlanta for like 5 years.
Okay. And do you feel like, if you think about the maturation of your cooking, was the Atlanta stay the thing that sort of elevated where you were?
Yeah, I think I worked for a chef there, Harold Marmelstein. Old school, went to the CIA back in the 80s where they'd still throw stuff at you. And
That's Culinary Institute of America, not the other CIA.
Yeah, Culinary Institute of America, Hyde Park, New York. Yeah. But when you actually had to get a letter of recommendation to get in and things like that, no. So all European chefs. So he was trained by all European chefs. So he had a very high standard and a very, very strict rules. And we just didn't. It was, you really can't. I hate to say it. It's going to be terrible to say, but you can't treat people the way we were treated back then anymore. But I do think it made me the best cook I could possibly be.
Yeah.
So without that treatment and the abuse that I took for years, I probably wouldn't be the cook that I am. So looking back, I hated it when it was going on, but I look back at it as the best time of my life because it definitely shaped my flavor, my belief, and how I wanted things done.
Yeah, and this may be an inappropriate comparison, but I watched Full Metal Jacket for the first time in a long time last night. And, obviously you've got the drill sergeant, Lee Emery or whatever, who's hardcore.
He was pretty mild.
Compared to what you saw in the kitchen?
Yeah, it was kind of funny because, there's that part in the movie when the guy's holding the gun, this is my gun, there's nothing like it, but this one is mine. So we used to say that about the stove. That exact line is like, this is my stove. And every time we clean it. It was kind of like because it was like that to us. It was like, this is what makes us, this is what keeps us alive. And so it was just, the funny that you brought that up, it kind of flashback to 1997. And we were, a buddy of mine, Todd Garrigan, who has restaurants in the Carolinas, we're cleaning the oven saying that. So it was kind of funny. This is my oven. There are many like it, but this one is mine.
This is mine, yeah.
And so it's really, it's kind of, it is kind of military-ish. And
you don't think that same level of discipline, for lack of a better way to put it, is present these days?
Not as obvious as it was back in those days. I mean, we can't throw things anymore, so that's kind of...
Which is probably good at some level.
It is, but I tell you what, it makes you realize you don't want to do it again either.
Sure.
So but I think there is a better way, and we're growing to that way, and it's taken me some years. But trying to sit down with people and discuss things is definitely a great way of learning instead of the old way.
Well, and you were talking earlier, and this makes sense to me. I've never been a chef in a kitchen. I've never cooked in a kitchen. I don't know that pressure. But you were saying earlier that you can know instantaneously, did they like my food or not, right? The smile or the not smile or how they react to that first bite tells you.
With the waiters, whatever it might be, if you pay attention.
It's like art in real time is what triggered the thought. Is like what you're doing is you're getting instantaneous feedback on your art.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you go home and you cut the grass and you look out in your yard when you finish, you're like, damn, my grass looks great.
Yeah.
And so it's the same as I call it that kind of, it's like that instant that you feed somebody and throughout the night, nothing comes back, no complaints. Everybody enjoyed it, seems like, and sometimes, there's always going to be the few people here and there, but you'll never be 100% correct. But we always shot for about 98%.
So I will tell you, I mentioned that we lived in Belhaven and Walker's was our spot. And then at some point when we started having kids, we moved up to Madison County. And shortly thereafter, you opened Local 463 at the time in Madison.
In Madison, in the city of Madison.
In Madison. And so I felt fortuitous that you were following us. We
must have been.
And now you've opened up a restaurant in Pocahontas, which is very close to where we now live out in Flora. So again, I feel fortuitous that you're kind of following our path and it's easy to get to you.
Well, my math is following you as well because we moved out to Flora.
Is that right?
Yeah, we lived out on Cox Ferry Road.
Oh, excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, love it out there.
A little space.
A lot of space.
Good for you.
A lot of grass to turn and look how nice it looks.
Yeah, good for you. Well, what was that moment though? So you got Walker's, it's successful. What led you to say, hey, let me do it again?
I'll tell you what, it took us 10 years. A lot of these kids are doing it a couple years in. I just, I was such a control freak back at the time that I couldn't let it go enough to do a second spot because I was so in control of what I wanted Walker's to be. And, but when we finally found we looked at a lot of spaces over the 10 years of having Walker's and just nothing really worked out. And for a lack of a better, we seem to do better going into somebody else's space. As far as the note being closer at the end, it's not ideal, but we make it work and it's worked out for us. So it's kind of,
yeah, because you moved Local 463 into where Mint was, which was the companion restaurant to Julep.
Right. Which I was a partner in for...
I didn't know that.
I was a partner in Julep for about 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when did you open up CAET? Because it's in the same shopping complex.
CAET we had in Fondren first. And so we've had it 7 years where it is now, and we had it 5 years before this. So we opened that in 2014 to 19 in Walker's, where Fat Sumo was, and then it was Grant's noodle place right there
Yeah.
by Saltine, and now it's the ramen bar.
Yeah, it was right next to Saltine's. I remember that, but it was a wine and tapas bar.
Wine and tapas bar started out, but getting people to order small plates and multiple small wines didn't work out, so we ended up putting 2 sizes of everything, and that's how. So pretty much the whole front page of CAET now, Big CAET, is all the small plates from Little CAET.
Okay. and you, CAET, for folks who haven't been there, is in the Renaissance Shopping Center in Ridgeland where Seafood Revolution was.
Right. So we went to their space. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really refined seafood dining. I mean,
yeah, it's just so when we first opened Walker's, I had 1 steak on the menu, and that was it. And everything else was seafood. So I was super seafood heavy. And we kind of evened it out over the years, kind of got the veal and added a pork chop and lamb and other things. But I felt like when we first started Walker's, people at that point weren't bringing different seafood into the market, and we wanted to do something different. So we did that. But then, as times changed, and then the local push to get things out of the Gulf, and which we were doing at that time too. But so we've really tried to focus on sustainability as well, and the way they fish the flounders and stuff up, or the sole and stuff up north, they kind of drag the bottoms and kind of destroy the reefs and things like that. So we kind of went to start doing gig flounder and things like that. So we've changed some things around over the years like that to be more sustainable, so we'd have seafood forever.
well, and look, I don't want to undercut your steak at Walker's. It was good.
Yeah.
But there are lots of steak places around
Absolutely.
Jackson, right?
Yes, sir.
I always thought that what you were particularly good at was the treatment of fish,
Yeah,
right?
I agree. Yeah. And just the way we treat it, the way we ice it, the way we trim it, we try to do, I try to teach all my guys, it's what makes us the money, really. I mean, it's just, you have to take care of what takes care of you. And so, like the stove, the fish,
Yeah, and that level of care gets translated to the plate. It absolutely gets translated to the plate. We've got to take another brief break. When we come back, we'll talk about barbecue, shifting from fine dining to rustic Texas pit-style barbecuing out at Sacred Ground. We're talking with Chef Derek Emerson. We will be right back. You're listening to The Sit Down with Russ Latino, heard on MPB Think Radio.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bobby Rush. As a blues man, I love Mississippi Public Broadcasting. If you support Mississippi music and their local programming, donate now, right now, and become a member today, not tomorrow. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Doesn't matter how big or small, but we prefer big. Thank you very much.
The Measuring Show.
Since 1970, MPB has been enriching the lives of Mississippians.
Everything we do gives us the chance to grow and learn.
With your support, we are always there whenever and wherever you need us. Together through the years, together in the future. Please consider making a donation at mpbfoundation.org. MPB, your stories, our mission. The nation's longest-running traveling celebration of traditional arts, the National Folk Festival, comes to downtown Jackson for the first time, November 7th through the 9th. A fun-filled weekend for the entire family, exploring roots, richness, and variety of American culture. Non-stop music and dance, folk life demonstrations, hands-on children's activities, signature Southern foods, crafts, and more showcasing the best of America, the best of Mississippi, all free. We'll see you in November. More at nationalfolkfestival.com.
You're listening to Sit Down on MPB Think Radio. I'm your host, Russ Latino. We're talking today with chef and restaurateur Derek Emerson, kind of going down memory lane a little bit about some of the restaurants that you've had and worked in. Look, I have said this to a number of people over the years, and I'm not just blowing smoke at you. Like, I think you're the best chef in Jackson.
Well, thank you.
I really
very much.
do. And there's some really good ones now.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, there's some
Hunter
very
and
good
Lewis,
ones.
Louis LaRose does a great job. Chaz Lindsay does a great job. I mean, there's some guys that are really stepping up their game.
But here's why I say that in part, and it goes back to the door opening thing that I mentioned earlier, is like, I didn't grow up necessarily eating the way you did in New Orleans, but at some point in my life, I started going to restaurants like those that you mentioned in New Orleans. And the level of detail, the attention to detail from wait staff on down and on up.
Yeah.
Was just incredible. And other than Walker's, when I first got to Jackson, there was nothing that closely resembled what you might experience in one of those bigger markets, New Orleans or San Francisco or New York, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, Nick's was they had kind of pushed the envelope as far as Nick. I mean, like I think I get it. Nick's 20 years older than I am. I couldn't imagine. He did a long run. So and I just think at some point, it's either you pass the torch, you get tired, or you do something different. And I was kind of, he passed the torch, I feel like.
And look, at some level, even in a city like New Orleans, I mean, you mentioned some of the Grand Dames, and they're all still great places to go to eat. But there are new kids on the block in New Orleans that are just knocking socks off, right? I mean,
Michael Galata is a great friend of mine who had Mofo, and he has a place, but he had to close that. But, just stuff that the flavors and the different things that people are bringing. Justin DeVilliers brings restaurants. I mean, there's a bunch of those guys down there we've done dinners with, and Besh, obviously, maybe bad word, maybe not. I don't know, whatever. He's always been good to me.
Well, I always say that about Donald Link, and Link's not a new kid on the block anymore either. But his restaurants in New Orleans, every single one of them brings something different, and they're all good.
And
right?
Susan Spicer has a connection to Jackson. Actually, after Katrina, she lived up here for a little while because Martinson's, her husband's, is a brother. So to Alan and Mimi. So it's kind of.
And Bayona is excellent. Bayona is the first place that I ever had sweetbreads.
Yeah, well, she does a great job.
And she does a phenomenal job with it. So let's talk, though, a little bit about your new venture, Sacred Ground. Derek was kind enough to bring me 3 Sacred Ground barbecue hats. If people don't know, Sacred Ground is out in Pocahontas.
It is.
Where there used to be a crawfish joint.
There was a crawfish place, and there used to be a teepee. Now we have a Dollar General and a barbecue place. So, I call it Pocahontas. It's in the middle of nowhere, but 20 minutes from everywhere.
So I will tell you this. There's this adage, right, that when you turn 30, you either have to pick, as a male, between becoming a World War II aficionado or smoking meat. I think you can do both, by the way. And so I very much got into the smoking meat side of things.
Yeah.
And for a long time have kind of lamented, not that there isn't good barbecue in Mississippi, there is, but it tends to be Memphis-style barbecue, a lot pork heavy.
Pork heavy, I agree.
And there are not very many people doing what I think is the best style of barbecue, which is Texas pit barbecue. It seems like that's your vibe at this point. It is,
and honestly, I like it because it doesn't have the sugars and the sweetness that some of the stuff around Mississippi, Tennessee, the St. Louis style, even Carolinas, they use a lot of sugar on their rubs and stuff like that. Texas, none. And so I kind of, I just think that if you're using good meat, the sauce should complement the meat. You shouldn't have to have it. And I think with if you just do just pork all the time, pork tastes like whatever you put on it. So, I think we do a good rib. I think we do a good butt. But I just think that I really, cooking a brisket is the hardest thing I've ever had to cook.
So
consistently, every day.
I would just say that that's another reason why I think I put it as sort of the penultimate, or the ultimate rather, is that there is a level of difficulty in getting a brisket right that is really, really hard. A pork butt is very forgiving.
Very forgiving.
Very forgiving. A brisket, you go 1 or 2 degrees the wrong way, and you've ruined the brisket.
And it's ruined your day. You've spent 12, 16 hours babying, and some days I look at them, I'm like, what are you guys doing? It's just like, they're sitting right next to each other.
And they cook different. They've got their own personality.
They do. You have to like baby every single one at a time. And you can't just stick a thermometer in one and say, okay, we're at 202, pull them all. Because they're not all going to be the same.
Yeah.
Believe me, I made that mistake way too many times in the beginning. I'm like, what do you mean there's not all the same? They're all next to each other. They're in the same smoker. It seems like you put something in the oven, it should cook the same time.
So tell me how you went from this, right, though? Because we're talking about like really refined handling of fish, delicate fish, to, you know what, I'm going to throw a 16-pound chunk of meat on a smoker, and 14 hours later, we'll see what happens.
I think I need to slow down a little. I didn't know how bad I needed something different until I started something different. I was probably really burnt out, slightly irritable, kind of over the fine dining thing. And I didn't know what I wanted to do really. And I was like, maybe I'll just cook barbecue for a while, just do something. I mean, I thought I thought it'd be easy. Wrong. B, I figured out real quick that anything good is not easy. And I just needed something different. Then I started cooking, and I was like, man, I enjoy cooking again. I enjoy the challenge of trying to get it right every time.
Now, your wife at one point, when I was in Sacred Ground, told me that part of the inspiration for this, you have a daughter that lives in Austin, is that right?
Yeah, she rides horses in Austin, yeah.
Okay.
So we were going over there a lot and eating over there, and just realized that, like you said, everything here was so pork heavy. And there's a couple people in town doing a decent job. You have Canova out in Flowood that does a good job, and Pig and Pine does a decent job. But their pork is, they still, Pig and Pine definitely pig and pine. They focus on pig. But they do a good job with the other. No one was really just focusing just on the beef. And and so to me, I focus on the beef, and the pig is there, where I think like the pig is their focus.
Yeah.
And the beef is there.
Well, I will say to anybody that comes out and sees you, there are 3 things on the menu that I think they've got to have. You may disagree with me on these 3, but I'm going to tell you my 3. 2 of them are definitely Texas Pit Barbecue. So the brisket is to me the best brisket in Mississippi.
Well, thank you. I think it's getting better.
And competes with Hill Country brisket. It really does.
Well, thank you very much.
The other thing that I'd say, and this is a very Texas thing too, is the smoked turkey.
Yeah, the turkey's killer.
It's just excellent.
Yeah.
And people hear that and they're like, oh, well, you have turkey on Thanksgiving and Christmas. This is a different thing.
Yeah, it is. It's I eat turkey every day.
that smoked turkey is awesome.
It's just it cooks great. We're using a good turkey. Nothing added to it. We're we're dry brining it right now. We were a sweet tea brining, and I just didn't really. It was getting the edges a little too weird for me, and so I started just dry brining at night. And we just cook them a little less than everybody, and you don't have to eat 175 turkey anymore.
Yeah. I'll tell you, whenever I'm doing them, I pull it at about 150.
Yeah. That's a good number.
Yeah. So, but if you were to type in USDA recommendations,
that ain't the number.
It would tell you something different, which is why you eat dry turkey.
Yeah, which is why you eat very dry turkey.
So
then we wrap it and we rest it, and we massage it too. So I just the turkey and the tri-tip were kind of the tri-tip I brought in. It's a huge California.
That's a Cali thing.
It's a Cali thing, and I didn't even realize when I was younger eating barbecue that was like a Cali thing, but it is. But it's so that, and so now we're also doing some top blade or the flat iron.
Oh yeah,
flat iron roast. We're doing that some, and we're going to start working on some cheeks next. If I can find a good source. Fun. Yeah, like a beef cheek is it's nice. So.
Yeah. So the third thing I was going to say were your Brussels sprouts. So it's not even a meat product. It's not something that's been on the smoker to my knowledge. They're roasted Brussels sprouts with some sort of Thai chili sauce kind of thing going on.
It's just we just take them, we roast them, and then fry them, and then toss them in the chili sauce, and they have been way more successful than I thought they would.
It's your best side. I mean, there's other good stuff out there, but it's crazy to think about. I don't know if you were like this as a kid. Obviously, Brussels sprouts was the nastiest thing your mother could ever put on a plate and expect you to eat. And it's like, clearly, we were just cooking them wrong all that time.
Just boiling them to death, like little baby. It's just basically baby cabbage.
So the other thing I'd say is, as a recommendation, if you go out to visit Derek, one, plan to spend a little time out there. Yeah. They've got a really cool setup.
Yeah, bring your family. It's my wife Jennifer did the outdoors. I mean, like I said, if I can make the food taste half as good as it looks outside, I've done something right. Because, we always, growing up, we have 3-4 girls, and we wanted to, we'd like to go out to eat, but sometimes they didn't want to go out to eat. And if you find a place that your kids want to go that has good food, that you should go, because there's not very many. A child can ruin a meal for a family in a heartbeat.
So when we lived in Virginia, Derek, one of the cool things up there is you'd go to like a brewery as an example, but it was designed for a family. Mm-hmm. So you'd have green space with games for people to play, and you could almost make a half day of it. Yeah. You guys have done some of that out there. There are games for kids to play. There's space to run around, all of that.
And it's a locked in location. So parents can kind of relax a little bit, and it's nice to, like I said, if we're kind of gone from the fine dining we had when your kids sitting there can't move, to seeing families out enjoying themselves. So again, it's the instant gratification of seeing people enjoying the product that you've put together. We wanted to make more. We didn't want a barbecue restaurant. We just wanted like an experience, I guess, for people to come out and enjoy themselves and bring family and bring friends. We'll be able to watch football in the fall and all kinds of fun stuff. So it's it's been life opening for me.
Well, and I'll say this too as a third and final recommendation to anybody going out there. One, go out there because it's a cool spot and great barbecue. Two, if you go out there, there are in fact like sandwiches on the menu. There are like individual plates on the menu. This is Russ's recommendation. Bring a couple people out with you and order a variety of smoked meat instead of going that route, at least on your first route.
Yeah.
That way you get a taste of everything and kind of get a sense of what you like.
And really, if you go to Texas, everybody gets a tray. I mean, not everybody, but you want to go in. The thing about barbecue, you want to enjoy food with friends, and you get a tray of food. If you can't eat off the same tray somebody else eats with, you shouldn't be eating barbecue with them. It's to me, it's like Sunday supper, and that's what kind of I base cooking on is family togetherness, and building memories, really.
Well, I brought a buddy of mine out to Sacred Ground several weeks ago now, and shortly thereafter, I had purchased for him, as I think it was a Christmas gift that had just been sitting around or something, a Snake River Farms Gold Wagyu brisket.
Nice.
And coached him through how to smoke said brisket. And at the end of it, he said, it was good, but I think I'll just drive out to Pocahontas because it is a labor of love to smoke a brisket.
I mean, like I said, you're 12, 16 hours in on it. I mean, I'm using 14 and ups. So once we trim them down to about probably 10 pounds, but you're still 10 pounds trimmed down to a quarter inch. It's a long cook.
We're talking with Chef Derek Emerson today. We got to take a brief break. We'll be back for the final segment right after this. You're listening to The Sit Down, heard only on MPB Think Radio.
Everlasting, the Legacy Podcast, is the official companion podcast to the upcoming MPB original documentary, focusing on the life of Medgar Evers. The companion podcast, hosted by me, Rita Brent, will feature in-depth conversations, extended interviews, and exclusive archive footage not shown in the documentary. Everlasting, the Legacy Podcast, video and audio episodes premiere September 18th. Find it on mpbonline.org or wherever you get your podcasts. MPB, your stories, our mission.
At the Mississippi Arts and Entertainment Experience in Meridian, we believe in the power of the arts, storytelling, and education, just like Mississippi Public Broadcasting. MPB connects communities across the state with quality programs that inform, inspire, and engage. Their audience is loyal and appreciative of businesses that support public broadcasting, which makes underwriting on MPB a smart investment. Join us in supporting MPB. Learn more at mpbfoundation.org.
Hello, I'm Desiree Frazier, host of the award-winning news program, Mississippi Edition. We bring you conversations about the latest news from across the Magnolia State. Whether it's politics, healthcare, or education, you'll hear in-depth discussions on issues that matter to you. So join us each weekday morning at 8:30 on MPB Think Radio, or download the podcast, listen through the app, and online.
You're listening to The Sit Down on MPB Think Radio. This is your host, Russ Latino. We're talking today with chef and restaurateur Derek Emerson, talking a little bit about the great barbecue out at Sacred Ground. And look, I am a smoked meat guy, and I'm a Texas smoked meat guy, and I think you're the closest to it that we've got.
And we're still learning.
And
we're gonna get all the way there.
And I will say though, Canova is very good.
Yeah.
If you're on that side of town,
no, he does a good job.
He does a very, very good job. I think the atmosphere you guys have built is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's like I said, it's more of a hangout.
So you've got Sacred Ground, you've got CAET, you've got Local 463. You said a sad farewell to your baby. You unloaded your baby.
Oof.
And you've got a new project in the works.
I do. So we have like three, I guess, if you want to break it down. So we've kind of moved over and partnered with Ted and Brick over at the district, and again going into a space that I've always liked. I love the I call it the Fine and Dandy or the Adoras building, but the black brick.
Yeah,
I've always really liked it a lot, and just when I thought Fine and Dandy was a beautiful restaurant. Eudora is not my style, but Fine and Dandy I thought was cool. So we're going to kind of go back in. We're going to do like a kind of a fast casual burger, which they had, and taco place. So we're going to bring a smoker. We're going to do the smoked meats, but halfway through we'll probably pull them and then braise them the rest of the way. So like kind of more of a Mexican style. So if we wanted to do like a braised pork, we'll take it, smoke it for 6, braise it for 4, and kind of get a pulled pork that way. And then same thing with like, we'll do like a chopped brisket, and we'll also bring over the turkey, and we're also going to do a rotisserie. So we do some rotisserie chickens and do pulled chicken for that kind of stuff. So I feel, to me, growing up in California, tacos and things like that were always like shredded beef, shredded chicken, nothing ground, chorizo, just stuff like that. So we just want to do a real straightforward, super fresh, homemade tortillas, flour and corn. My daughter or wife cannot eat gluten anymore, so we're definitely eating corn. So yeah, it's kind of changed, and that's why barbecue is also good for them. There's no flour in any of that.
Sure.
So we're going to do that at the Eudora space. And I think with the green space there, it screams kind of more fast casual. We'll have the bar. You'll be able to get full service and full cocktails at the bar, and you can have waiter service. But I feel like with that space out there and kids running around, it kind of feels like sacred ground. So we're going to bring the smoked meats there. We're also going to take over the old bar that was at Cultivation, and we put up a wall in between, like right at the end of the pizza oven. So we're going to do small plates out of that pizza oven that was at Cultivation. So we'll do mushroom toast. I'm going to do like some blue cheese chips and some other stuff that I've done over the years. So we'll do some small bites. So it'll be like old cave. So we'll do small plates and cocktails at the bar. And then next to the bar, we're putting in some glass windows in between the bar, and we're going to do like a little, for like provisions, like we're calling it Emerson provisions. So we're going to sell the sauces that we make at Walker, or used to make at Walker's. Now we make it's CAET now. So we'll sell like the red wine sauce, the Madeira sauce. We'll sell Beurre Blanc reduction. We'll sell crab cake wet mix. Things that you can go home and add, I should call it finishing touches. So it'd be like a compound butter. If you want to do like a blue cheese compound butter on a steak, we'll have that. If you want to use red wine sauce. I think things to elevate your home cooking to more like a restaurant meal.
Okay. I didn't know about the last two, so you do have a lot of irons in the fire there.
So we gave up one but picked up 3.
I got you. I think the taco place is such an interesting concept.
I just, I think there's a lot of places that do good, really authentic, but I'm just going to do like more of a Tex-Mex style on taco. I'm not going to try to be, obviously I'm a Caucasian male. I'm not going to try to pretend like I'm cooking Mexican food, but I am going to do all fresh salsas that we've always made, and I'm going to do, pozzoles and things like that I enjoy cooking. And I love those. I love the Southwestern and the Spanish or Mexican flavor. So,
well, and look, there's a big market for Tex-Mex. I can tell you this: my wife, who was born in Mississippi but lived in Texas most of her life outside of Dallas, to this day complains that there's no good Tex-Mex in Mississippi. There's something, you go out to Texas and you mentioned tortillas. There's something about those fluffy, thick flour tortillas or
the corn that you can actually taste the corn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've sourced a place that makes fresh matzah in Atlanta. And so we're going to bring that in. So all of our tortillas will be made with fresh matzah. So you have that really corn flavor that we're looking for that I really, we just got back from New York and went to some taco places up there. And it seems like the more simple you build your flavors, kind of, you don't have to tell everybody everything that's going into it, but if you build those flavors correctly, it's a real straightforward pickup, and then making tortillas that have that really great flavor.
Have you been to Velvet Taco in Austin?
I have.
Do you like Velvet Taco in Austin? You were about to tell me no, it's going to hurt my heart.
No, I do like it. I think that, and it's kind of, it would be the closest thing that I'm trying to do, but I want to say copy, because I do want to do like a salsa bar where you can come in and get fresh salsas and kind of put what you want on a taco too. So I kind of like, I do like their concept there. I did go out and there's one in New York I went and looked at the other day too.
Okay,
yeah,
very cool.
That's a big chain now, yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize they're spread out all over the place.
The rotisserie chicken like once a week or so many a day that you can buy out the back door kind of thing. And
well, see, and look, I used to love Chuy's, but then the people that own Olive Garden just bought Chuy's, so it's going downhill in a dramatic way.
Yeah, it's a shame to see stuff like that happen. Ultimately, I guess that's everybody's goal, is to build something to
sell.
Unload. Yeah. Unload, sell.
So when does the restaurant in the district open up, or when do the 3 different?
So the bar will probably come first because obviously the bar's already there, and that'll probably be shooting for the end of August, and then I'd like to do August, September, and October.
Okay, so you're talking about pretty soon.
Yeah, I hope. According to construction, and we've already started construction on the cultivation spaces.
So let me ask you this: when you're not eating Derek Emerson food, are there places that you and Jennifer like to go?
Yeah, I mean, we have families, so we go to the local, Ichiban, or the local.
Sure.
Like everybody else that has a family, we'll go to the hibachi places. We'll go to, we went to Lou's not too long ago. Lou's a good friend, and he was actually my first chef at Local 463 out in Madison. And then Hunter worked for Lou, and then Chaz worked for us at Parlor Market. So I feel like we've touched some people in Jackson at least. Yeah, we don't. I mean, Little Tokyo, or I guess it's the Kurabana now, but we like the original one that used to be Little Tokyo.
Yeah.
Just the Waffle House. I mean, I tell people my favorite meal is when I don't cook.
You're like eating normal people food.
No, yeah.
You're not like, every meal's not like something exotic.
There's a funny story. So back early, just probably 5 or 6 years after we had walkers, and I'd go to the grocery store in the afternoon, and they're like, the lady's looking at my car. I see someone following me. I was like, So the lady walks up, I'm not trying to follow you. I just want to see what's in your cart. I want to see what a professional chef eats. I said, I have 4 girls at home. I eat the same thing you guys do.
There's some white bread and some cheese. We'll be making grilled cheese tonight.
Yeah, there's bagel bites and, toast. She's like, you guys eat that? I'm like, yeah, they need snacks after school. So it was kind of funny that she thought that we were eating like foie gras and sweetbreads all the time, but it was really just like normal, scrambled eggs, White Castles, and just quick snacks, and then dinner at home. Yeah.
Well, and it's what I do for a living. I have to read an awful lot, and so sometimes people will be like, "Hey, what are you reading for pleasure?" And I do still read for pleasure, but like, it's kind of like after reading all day long, I don't necessarily want to pick something up and read it again. I'm sure after cooking.
Yeah, just and I cook. I call my wife's like, you cook once a year. I cook Christmas breakfast and I cook Thanksgiving.
And what does that look like?
Eggs, bacon, egg casseroles, and Thanksgiving's a little more my thing. We do like truffled mac and cheese, and all kinds of fresh cranberry sauce and things like that. I really enjoy cooking Thanksgiving.
And is that something where you bring in your whole family together, or?
Yeah, we bring in the whole family, and then we have some acquired family members that have been with us for a long time. That comes with, like, Effie's family comes, and my friend Matt comes, and so we have a good little group.
So. This is probably an unfair question, but I'm just curious if you'll give me an answer. How would you rate Mississippi's food scene or Jackson's food scene compared to other big southern markets?
For the size city that we have, I'm pretty happy with it. We got some guys doing really good jobs here, and they're really trying, and like I said, they're making their way, and I think it's I think for the size city we have, we have a lot more restaurants than you think. For like individually owned restaurants. Even from like little Indian places and stuff like that, we'll go, even if it's Indian buffet, it's still individually owned by a family here in Mississippi, So it's really cool to see a lot of those little places that are pretty darn good,
Well, look, I'll say it again. I'm not supposed to act like a fanboy on the radio, but I'm a fan of yours. You do great things. Whatever you put your hand to. My wife is particularly excited about this taco concept.
And again, like, doing the barbecue, it's given me something new to do. And, if I've learned over the years, I need to stay busy. It keeps me out of trouble.
and Sacred Ground's open Thursday through Sunday, is that right?
Yeah, Thursday through Sunday. We start trimming briskets Tuesday, cooking Wednesday for Thursday, and then on, Thursday for Friday.
And a good array of beer in the cooler?
Good cold beers in the cooler. And, it's just, it's awesome being outside and cooking it. Smoking meat is probably the most relaxing thing you could ever do. It's the hottest thing you can ever do.
It's a great form of therapy. We've been talking with Chef Derek Emerson. Derek, thanks for coming in today.
Yeah, thanks
The
for
Sit
having me.
Down is a publication of Mississippi Public Broadcasting Think Radio, funded by generous contributions from listeners like you. Today's show was produced by the radiant, effervescent Germaine Flood in the booth, with live stream production by Marissa Vaughn. For my guest chef and restaurateur, Derek Emerson, I'm Russ Latino. Stay tuned for Southern Remedy right here at 11 a.m. And join us here next week for an episode of The Sit Down, heard only on NPB Think Radio.